I keep getting emails on this particular topic, and I've spoken about it a lot of times in many different events, but this is something that goes on with everybody, in every family, in every work atmosphere, with every human. So this topic is something that cannot be ignored. And I have taken my inspiration from the holy verses mainly, and when applied on myself and my wellness clients, they have responded so positively to it, and they have narrated me their experiences, and they tell me that how they have benefited from this one verse, that this one holy verse, they have changed their lives by practicing this and implementing this in their day-to-day lives. Anger is something that is contagious, and the holy verses has actually cautioned us from this particular action that is not limited to one human, one family, one society, one neighborhood, one country, or any one particular organization. Anger is contagious worldwide. It is a universal emotion, and it is very, very important for survival. If anger is so harmful, why has the Supreme Consciousness given us anger? Why has He gifted us with anger and made this a part of our nature? Because anger is very, very important for survival. If you don't have anger, then you cannot protect yourself. Anger is to protect yourselves. When we read in the holy verses that do not associate with people who have very hot temper and who have complications in managing their emotional outburst, this does not mean that anger is a bad thing. Anger is not a bad thing at all. It is a very strong emotion that is actually given to us to make benefit in our lives and to actually attract a lot of abundance in our life if used anger and channelized anger in the right direction. If we associate with people who have very short temper, what will happen is we will pick up on their energy levels. We will pick up on how they react, and then what will happen is they have their set of consequences which they are going to face. Then we cannot dissociate ourselves with those consequences also. If we choose the company of a person who is very, very short-tempered and emotionally has a very strong outburst, we cannot miss out on that particular attribute, because that attribute of that Supreme Consciousness actually descends out in all of us, and how this universe is designed, because everything, every object, every action that is taking place in this universe is under His surveillance. So we have to be very, very fair in our motive. Something we read, something we find very attractive, if it suits our convenience, then we are actually positively reacting to it. But the moment something which till now we were finding it to be very divine, very holy, and very, very good and useful, that goes against our interest, then what happens is we react negatively to it. We slowly detach ourselves and our emotions from that what we were till now finding very, very useful. We cannot miss out on this fact that the one who is that Supreme Consciousness is most beneficent, most merciful, all-powerful in nature, and the most important attribute that we all miss out on is that He is very, very fair. He is completely impartial. If this one attribute we do not fail to miss out on, then this will solve half of our problems where we actually go wrong and we attract sorrow and misery and pains in our lives. As per the holy verses, whenever we read that do not befriend any person who has hot temper or who gets angered very easily. Why do we always think this refers only to others and not our own relatives, our own friends, our own family members, and for that matter our own selves? This is where we actually go wrong. See, we need to understand this. Every verse that is in the holy books that we read has a deep meaning, and the progress takes place this way. Anything that is from the Almighty to us, if we take it in the unbiased sense and actually decode anything, keeping our own personal interest in one side and actually read something completely impartial in our thoughts and in our motive, then the actual result that we reap is beyond our imaginations. But what we do is, whenever we read or hear something, if that suits us, if that suits our convenience, then we positively react to it. And whenever there is something that goes against our personal interest, then that thing becomes bad for us and we choose not to believe. This is where the problem lies, because if something loses its fairness, here what happens by doing this, what man is doing is, man is harming his own interest, because anything that is impartial will help man completely. I have spoken on anger many times on different events. This is something which I have taken inspiration from the holy verse, and when applied on myself and when applied on my wellness clients, they have narrated their experiences to me, how their life has changed and how the emotional outbursts that they used to have before, they have stopped having that completely, because that particular person is using this gift of the emotion called anger in a wrong direction, and he will reap the consequences accordingly. What happens is, it is so contagious in nature. He who has designed our body, our emotions, our body, mind, soul, and these emotions within us, he has made it in such a way that this emotion anger is very contagious. You start picking up on the energy of that person you're associating with. So now what to do? Suppose you are in an office, there are so many people around. It's not possible to disassociate yourselves with each and every one of them. Now what? Can the holy verses tell us something that is so impractical in nature? No, it is. When they say that disassociate yourselves, or they say that do not befriend somebody who is angry in nature, that doesn't mean that you cut off in a way that you don't have to see the face of the person ever. You can cut off somebody from your heart, from the inside. You can stop taking in the energy of that person. Cutting off does not always mean physical cut off. In this material world, we always associate everything with our physical being. Of course, that is important, but we have to take the measures in order to actually come out of that physical barriers that stop us from unleashing the potentials of our luck and our mind. Luck and mind go hand in hand. What you think from the mind, that turns to be your luck. So what do you do if you're in a workplace and your boss is angry, the person, your team member, your team head is very angry personality? So you cannot afford to disassociate yourselves with those people. Yes, it is possible. You can disassociate yourselves. Disassociating not always refer to physical distance. This is deep within. If you have to have a conversation with somebody in order to work in a particular project, that doesn't mean that you will let that person in your heart. You can cut off and disassociate with a human being from your heart. In spite of being physically present with that person, you are not letting his energies, his distractions come and enter and contaminate your aura. You can block his energy. You can block Satan. You can block the negativity that the person in your team or in your office or in your house is actually trying to contaminate with your positive energy. This is what I have actually experienced when I have taken this inspiration from this holy verses. This has changed my lives in many ways, and as I keep saying, the people who are associated with me, they tell me in their emails, they tell me in calls that this is how this has affected their life as well as their children's life, because this is what they teach their children in their schools also. So they avoid getting into unwanted fights, and in spite of being within a classroom and having to get along with so many different people, they actually learn from their childhood how to block the negative aura and how to take in the positivity of others and give their positivity to others. This is what they keep telling me, and I feel that how well put this verse is, and this has been a gift to us to actually know and practice it for ourselves, that you can actually disassociate with somebody from the within. Here there is one subtle point that cannot be ignored, and that is this verse holds true not just for us or as long as this is suiting our interest or convenience. This applies in a universal aspect, even if it doesn't suit our convenience. For example, you have a boss, a neighbor, an outsider, or for example, any relative or a family member whom you don't like, whom you completely dislike. If that person has anger management issues, then you will be very happy about this verse and you will react positively to it, that yes, you will happily disassociate with that person. But suppose this holds true in the case of your love interest, somebody whom you love, somebody whom you are very concerned with, somebody with whom you are very attached, say one of your own parents, your own children, or say your spouse, or anybody who is closely associated with you and who is actually giving you a lot of benefits, emotional benefits and benefits in every way. Then what happens is, now if the person gets angered very easily, this is one quality in them. Now you will slowly disassociate yourselves not with the person but with this holy verse. Why? Because now this is clashing with your self-interest, and something that goes against or clashes with our self-interest, then we slowly, subconsciously get detached with that particular thing. So in this case, in the case of your neighbor or your boss or any family member whom you don't like, or any friend whom you dislike, you were positively reacting to it. But because now it's clashing with your own self-interest, human is very selfish, and that is something that we cannot avoid. We have to live with it, but if we understand it and choose to work on it, then we can make benefits. What do you think? That now, because this holds true with somebody whom you are attached to, you are not going to reap the negative consequences, what has been cautioned to us through this verse? Of course you will. Suppose, say, any of your cousin with whom you are working on a partnership business and you cannot disassociate yourselves with that person. He is your best friend, and what you do is you hang out with him and you completely gel with that person, but he is very short-tempered and he gets triggered in every small matter. Any emotion can actually trigger angry emotions within him. Any emotion can trigger out that emotion within him, that is called outburst. An emotion is a vent out to a limit, but the moment it crosses that thin line, that takes the form of an outburst, and no sooner you will get to actually witness it completely converting in the form of strong angry emotions, that is hate. How do you think that person will not reap negative consequences of this emotion, and how are you confident that you are not going to actually attract those negative consequences of his in your lives? Of course you will. So now what needs to be done? Suppose there is somebody who is a very angry person but whom you cannot do without, then should you leave that person? Should you completely disassociate with that person? And the answer is yes. And how? The answer is yes. But the question mark is how? Not in the way you and I predict easily, that cut off with everybody, because our holy verses cannot tell us something that is impractical and inhuman in nature. Suppose a person has anger management issues, and if you completely block that person, disassociate with him, is that what is being told to us? No. Disassociating yourself means disassociating with the energy of that person. Now, how is it possible? By actually talking out with the person and saying that, see, this is this emotion which is harming you, and this is going to harm me as well. This is this emotion called anger, which is there within us. If channelized in a proper way, it can reap great benefits to us. But since you are channelizing it in the wrong direction, this is harming you, and this is contaminating my aura as well, because I hang out with you, I spend most of my hours with you. So work on it. Let's work on it together. Jointly work on it. Try to help him out. If he is able to understand what you're saying, because that is for his good and your good as well, then you can associate with him and both of you together can work on it. But if the person behaves adamant and chooses to rubbish out whatever you are saying, then in that case it is not injustice, unfair to completely disassociate with that person. And if it is not possible to do in a practical, say, day-to-day work life or office life, or you're in the same house, say, with somebody, you have to live in under the same roof, of course you cannot go and move with a gloomy face and disassociate with that person, but then you can keep and maintain a healthy distance with that person. Disassociation does not always mean cutting off physically. Disassociation refers to cutting off emotionally and having a healthy distance between two people, and the healthy distance, if it is not possible to do it physically, then you can do it with mindfulness. This is what we get out of this verse, that disassociate with people who get angered easily, for then you will pick up on their energy and you will start behaving like them without even knowing that you are reaping the same consequences that they are going to for their negatively using this emotion called anger. So we addressed these two very important aspects of this verse. Now the third and the most important aspect is, can you miss out or leave out your own selves when it comes to disassociating with somebody who gets angered very easily? Most of the times we live in our make-believe world, or we choose to live in our make-believe world by thinking that no, it doesn't apply on me, it just applies on others. There can be somebody else also who can choose to disassociate with you because you have anger issues. Then what do you do with yourself? You are living with yourselves. Suppose you cut off with everybody. Okay, that person gets angry very easily, that person is bad, this person is like this, that person has quite frequent emotional outbursts. What about you? You cannot stop judging your own self, because when it comes to disassociate yourself with the emotion of anger, that also implies on you and that holds true for you. Till now we addressed first others whom we dislike. Second aspect was, what about the people whom we like? The verse when goes against our self-interest. And now it's coming to your own selves. You are living with yourself. Suppose everybody around you has become a perfect human being. What about you? What about me? I have cut off with everybody for various reasons. I feel no, that person is bad, that person is bad, that person is bad. What about my own selves? What about that anger that is gifted to me as well? Because I am also a part of this nature of this Mother Earth and the universe, the way it is designed, the laws of the existence and the qualities and the attributes of the existence that has been given to me as well. Anger is that emotion that has been given to me as well. Have I overcome that emotion, and am I using the anger in the right way and channelizing it the right way? If not, then I have to disassociate with myself also. Otherwise, this anger will lead me to destruction. Now, how do I do that? How practical is it? I have disassociated myself with the person I don't like, that I have done very happily. I have disassociated with the person whom I am attached to. I did that very unhappily. What about my own self? Suppose I have that issue of anger. Then I have to block my own anger from affecting myself. I have to then become a witness to my anger. I have to become then somebody who is watching my own self and say that, look, I choose to disassociate with you. Otherwise, it will lead you on to keep blaming others and be angry yourselves, and then you will say, the holy verses has said, do not associate with people who get angry very easily, but I am practicing it but not benefiting from it in my lives. Because this verse holds true for every human being in this existence, then you are also one of the human beings of this huge existence, one minute particle of this big existence. One small cell that multiplies, divides and become millions of cells that gets an identity in a human being's name. Say for you, your name. So this holds true for you as well. Work on 3 aspects and within 15 days you can feel the difference in your aura. You can actually feel the change in your day-to-day lives. Disassociate with this particular anger emotion, channelize it the right way. Try it for 15 days. Try it for 15 days and see the result for yourselves. This is going to actually be very, very helpful in your practical office life. Just try and see for yourself, because see, office is one thing, your workplace is something where you get to meet so many different people with different shades of emotions. So here, when you practice it, you can actually master on this. And the more you become perfect in practicing this particular thing, you will actually gain different kind of experiences in your day-to-day life, and you can pass on these experiences to your family members, to your children, to your parents, to your siblings, to people, your friends around you, and the atmosphere, the surrounding around you can become positively so much strong. It can become so much full of good luck and abundance that it will build a strong wave of aura around your surrounding, and you will become a pack of good luck and good attraction. So in this case, what's happening is your positivity, what you're further spreading, and the people are further spreading it. So your surrounding is becoming so power packed. The aura in which you are living right now is surrounded with so much positively charged aura, strong attraction powers it has now, because something done in a group and something done in isolation has different impact. Now you are a power pack, a bunch of completely positively charged strong aura that is there to attract abundance from the universe. Just try it for once, but do not be selfish and do not be ignorant enough or foolish enough to actually miss out on the self. These 3 aspects were very important for us to discuss, because see, that attribute of that supreme consciousness of fairness and complete impartiality is the root of the very existence that is taking place in this universe and even beyond, which is completely unknown to us. So there is this universal law which goes on. So any holy verse also, if we read and we put into practice, just keeping our personal interest in our minds, then it doesn't result in that way which will actually give us long-term benefit and give such short-lived benefit. Short-lived benefit is of no use, that is actually harmful. So the fairness part was very important to keep in mind whenever we practice this thing. So use this verse for your benefit, apply it to every human with an unbiased emotion, and then the outcome of it will be actually long-lived and it will give you very long-term result.